The night sky above Seoul was full of lights. Fireworks exploded in bright colors. Music played from every street. People danced and laughed and held each other close. It was the biggest celebration in human history, 150 years of peace with the Valoran Collective. Park Ji-soo stood on the balcony of the military headquarters and watched the celebration below. She wore her admiral's uniform, decorated with medals from 30 years of service. But she did not smile. She did not celebrate. Something felt wrong, and she had learned long ago to trust her instincts. "Admiral, you should join the party," said a young officer behind her. "This is a happy night." Ji-soo shook her head slowly. "I will stay here. You go and enjoy yourself." The officer left, and Ji-soo was alone with her thoughts. She remembered the stories her grandmother told her about the first contact. The Valorans came from the stars with gifts. They shared technology that cured diseases. They gave humanity ships that could travel faster than light. They helped build colonies on 12 different worlds. Billions of humans now lived among the stars because of Valoran kindness. But kindness always had a price. Ji-soo had spent her career preparing for threats, and she saw threats everywhere now. Valoran ships moving to new positions near human colonies. Strange communications her team could not decode. And 3 days ago, every Valoran diplomat left Earth without explanation. Her communicator buzzed. It was Han Soo-jin, her best intelligence officer. "Admiral, I need to see you. It's urgent. Come to my office." 10 minutes later, Soo-jin arrived. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick movements. She carried a data pad and her hands were shaking. "What did you find?" Ji-soo asked. Soo-jin placed the data pad on the desk. "We intercepted Valoran transmissions. Most of it is encrypted, but we decoded some fragments." She touched the screen and text appeared. Ji-soo read the words slowly. Her blood went cold. "The experiment concludes. Harvest protocol authorized. Subjects show no further value." "What does this mean?" Ji-soo asked, but she already knew. She felt the truth in her bones. "I don't know," Soo-jin said. "But Admiral, there's more. Valoran ships are moving into attack formations around all 12 colonies. They're surrounding us." Ji-soo walked to the window and looked at the celebrating crowds below. 4 billion people on Earth, billions more on the colonies. All of them happy, all of them trusting, all of them about to die. "We need to warn everyone," she said. "Now." Before Soo-jin could respond, the sky changed. The fireworks stopped. The music died. People looked up and pointed at the darkness above. Ships, hundreds of ships, thousands of ships. They appeared from nowhere, filling the sky like a metal ceiling. Valoran warships, bigger and more powerful than anything humanity possessed. The gifts they once gave now looked like toys compared to these weapons. Every screen in the city flickered. Every phone, every computer, every display showed the same face. High Overseer Kale, supreme leader of the Valoran Collective. His skin was pale blue and his eyes were completely black. When he spoke, his voice was calm and cold. "People of Earth, for 150 years, we have watched you. We have studied you. We have given you technology and knowledge and time. We wanted to see what you would become." Ji-soo grabbed Soo-jin's arm. "Get to the emergency bunker. Send evacuation orders to all colonies. Move!" Soo-jin ran. Ji-soo stayed and listened to Kyle's message. "You built cities," Kyle continued. "You expanded to new worlds. You created art and music and culture. But you did not evolve. You did not transcend your limitations. You remained what you always were, primitive, violent, predictable." Outside, people started screaming. They ran through the streets, pushing and falling over each other. Parents grabbed children. Lovers held hands and looked for shelter that did not exist. "The experiment is over," Kale said. "You were never our friends. You were our test subjects." and test subjects that show no value must be eliminated to make room for new ones. The first plasma beam hit the city center. A column of green fire fell from the sky and erased 10,000 people in 1 second. Buildings melted. The ground turned to glass. The heat wave knocked Jisoo off her feet. She crawled to the door and ran down the stairs. Alarms screamed everywhere. Soldiers rushed past her, shouting orders that nobody followed. Another plasma beam hit nearby, and the building shook. In the command center, officers worked frantically at their stations. Screens showed the same horror from every continent. Beijing burning, New York in ruins, London gone, Moscow gone. The Valorans were attacking every major city on Earth at the same time. "Admiral!" a young officer shouted. "Our orbital defenses are not responding. The Valorans already disabled them." Of course they did, Jisoo thought. They built those defenses. They knew every weakness. "What ships do we have?" she asked. 17 cruisers in Earth orbit. "But Admiral, against that fleet—" "I know." She looked at the main screen. The Valoran armada was endless. Humanity's entire military could not scratch it. Her communicator buzzed. It was Kim Tae-woo, the chief diplomat. He was supposed to be at the peace celebration, giving a speech about friendship between species. "Jisoo," he said. His voice was broken. "My wife, my children. They were at the ceremony in the plaza. The plaza is gone." Jisoo closed her eyes. She had known Tae-woo for 20 years. He dedicated his life to peace with the Valorans. He believed in them completely. "I'm sorry, Tae-woo." "What do we do?" he asked. "What can we do?" She opened her eyes and looked at her officers. They were young and scared and waiting for orders. "We survive," she said. "That's all we can do right now. We survive, and we get as many people off Earth as possible." She took command and started giving orders. Evacuation ships launched toward the colonies. Military cruisers moved to protect civilian transports. Bunkers opened across the planet. But it was not enough. It would never be enough. Throughout the night, Jisoo watched her world die. Cities that took centuries to build were destroyed in minutes. Defense stations that were supposed to protect humanity exploded without firing a single shot. Ships tried to flee and were cut down by Valoran weapons. By morning, 2 billion people were dead, and the Valorans were just getting started. The last message Jisoo received before escaping Earth came from the colony on New Busan. It was Lee Yuna, the lead scientist at the weapons research facility. "Admiral, we're receiving distress calls from all colonies. The Valorans are attacking everywhere. This isn't conquest. They're not taking prisoners. They're not making demands. They're just killing everyone." Jisoo sat in her damaged cruiser as it limped toward Mars. Behind her, Earth burned. Everything she knew, everyone she loved, was gone. "I understand," she said quietly. "Admiral, what do we do?" Jisoo looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Valorans thought they had won. They thought humanity was finished. They were wrong. "Find a place to hide," she told Yuna. "Gather every scientist, every engineer, every soldier you can find, and start working. We need weapons, real weapons." "Weapons? Admiral, we can't fight them. Their technology is—" "Then we'll learn their technology. We'll take it apart and make it ours. They studied us for 150 years, Yuna. They watched everything we did. But they made one mistake." "What mistake?" Jisoo's jaw tightened. Her eyes were hard. "They didn't learn what we become when we have nothing left to lose." The city of Busan burned below as Captain Cho Min-ho flew his battleship through clouds of smoke and ash. The retribution was old and slow compared to Valoran warships, but it was all he had. Plasma beams lit up the sky around him. His shields were failing. His weapons did almost no damage to the enemy, but he kept fighting because there was nothing else to do. "Captain!" his first officer shouted. "We have 3 civilian transports trying to reach orbit. They need cover." Min-ho looked at his tactical display. The transports were surrounded by Velaran fighters. They would be destroyed in minutes. "Take us in," he ordered. "All weapons on those fighters." The Retribution dove toward the battle. It was a suicide run, and everyone on the bridge knew it. But nobody complained. Nobody asked questions. They all had family down there. They all had something to fight for. The battleship's guns fired, and 2 Valoran fighters exploded. It was not enough. There were too many of them. One transport was hit and broke apart. Minho watched escape pods scatter into space, only to be shot down one by one. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." Another transport exploded. The third one managed to jump to hyperspace just before a plasma beam reached it. One transport. Maybe 500 people. That was all Minho could save from a city of 3 million. He pulled his ship back into orbit and looked down at Busan, the city where his grandmother lived, the city where he grew up, the streets where he played as a child. All of it was gone. Just fire and melted metal and bodies. "Captain," his communications officer said quietly, "I'm receiving reports from other colonies. It's the same everywhere." Minho did not respond. He just stared at the burning world below. On the other side of the planet, Han Soo-jin woke up in a prison cell. Her head hurt and her memories were broken. She remembered running through the command center. She remembered an explosion. Then nothing. The cell was small and cold and completely white. No windows, no furniture except a metal bench. She sat up slowly and checked her body for injuries. Bruises and cuts, but nothing serious. The door opened and a Velaran soldier entered. He was tall and thin with pale blue skin and those terrible black eyes. He carried no weapon. He did not need one. "You are Han Soo-jin," he said. "Intelligence officer. You tried to warn your fleet about our attack." Soo-jin said nothing. It would not have mattered. The soldier continued. "Your ships were too slow. Your weapons were too weak. We gave you technology, but we kept the best for ourselves. Surely you understood this." "What do you want from me?" Soo-jin asked. The soldier smiled. It was a cold, empty smile that made Soo-jin's skin crawl. "Commander Thess wants to speak with you. He is curious about your species. Even now, at the end, he wishes to study you." 2 more soldiers entered and grabbed Soo-jin's arms. They dragged her through metal hallways until they reached a large room with windows looking out at space. A Velaran male stood at the windows with his hands behind his back. He was older than the soldiers, with darker blue skin and silver markings on his face. "Leave us," Commander Thess said. The soldiers released Soo-jin and left. Thess turned to face her. His black eyes studied her like she was an insect under glass. "Do you know why we did this?" he asked. Soo-jin's hands formed fists. "Because you're monsters." "No, because we are scientists." He walked slowly around her, observing her from every angle. "For thousands of years, the collective has studied lesser species. We give them technology. We give them time. We watch how they develop. Most species destroy themselves within a few generations. Some evolve into something useful, and some, like humanity, simply stay the same." "We didn't stay the same," Soo-jin said. "We built civilizations. We explored space. We created art and music and—" "You created nothing," Thess interrupted. "Everything you built with our gifts. Without us, you would still be fighting wars on your little planet, killing each other over land and resources and imaginary gods." He leaned closer to her face. "We gave you everything, and you wasted it. You proved that your species has no value. So now we clear the space and start again with a new subject." Soo-jin wanted to scream at him. She wanted to attack him with her bare hands, but she forced herself to stay calm. She was an intelligence officer. Information was her weapon. "What happens now?" she asked. Thess walked back to the window. "Now we finish the cleansing. In 3 days, there will be no more humans. Your colonies are already falling. Your fleets are destroyed. Your homeworld is ash." He looked at her over his shoulder. "You are the last generation of your species. How does that feel?" On Mars, Admiral Park Jisoo stood in an underground bunker and addressed the survivors. There were 200,000 people in the room, packed together in the cold and dark. They were soldiers and scientists and civilians. They were all that remained of Earth. 3 days ago, we had 12 colonies and a population of 9 billion, Jisoo said. Her voice was steady, but inside she was breaking. "Now we have this bunker and 200,000 survivors. The Valorans attacked without warning and without mercy. They killed everyone they could find." People cried, people screamed, people held each other and shook with grief. "I know you are afraid," Jisoo continued. "I know you want to give up. I know you think we are finished." She paused and looked at their faces, broken faces, hopeless faces. "But I need you to listen to me very carefully. We are not finished. We are not beaten. We are still here." Kim Tae-woo pushed through the crowd to reach her. His eyes were red from crying and his clothes were torn and dirty. 3 days ago, he was a diplomat who believed in peace. Now he was just another survivor with nothing left. "What can we do?" he asked. "They have ships and weapons and technology we can't match. We're hiding in a hole on a dead planet. How do we fight that?" Jisoo looked at him. She looked at all of them. "They studied us for 150 years, she said. "They watched everything we did. They analyzed our history, our culture, our behavior. They think they know us completely." Her voice grew harder. "But they made a mistake. They studied us during peacetime. They studied us when we were comfortable and safe. They never studied us when we were desperate. They never studied us when we were angry." She stepped down from the platform and walked among the people. She touched their shoulders. She looked into their eyes. "The Valorans think this is over. They think we will hide and cry and wait to die, but that is not what humans do. When everything is taken from us, when we have nothing left to lose, we don't surrender. We fight, we adapt, we survive, and then we make our enemies pay for what they did." The bunker was silent. Everyone stared at her. "I'm not going to lie to you," Jisoo said. "Most of us will die, maybe all of us. But before we die, we will hurt them. We will make them remember us. We will make them regret every single life they took." She raised her voice until it echoed off the metal walls. "They gave us 150 years of peace because they thought we were harmless. They killed 9 billion of us because they thought we were weak. But we are not harmless. We are not weak. We are humanity, and we do not forgive. We do not forget. And we do not quit." Slowly, people started to stand straighter. They wiped their tears. They lifted their heads. "So here is what we're going to do," Jisoo said. "We're going to find every scientist, every engineer, every soldier who survived. We're going to take apart Valoran technology and learn how it works. We're going to build weapons and ships and plans. And when we're ready, we're going to find the Valorans and show them what they created." Tae-woo looked at her with something new in his eyes. Not hope, exactly. Something darker and colder. "What did they create?" he asked. Jisoo's face was hard as stone. "Their extinction." On the Valoran command ship, Commander Thess reviewed reports from the cleansing operation. 97% of humans eliminated. The remaining 3% were scattered and hiding like animals. No threat at all. He smiled and prepared his report for High Overseer Kyle. The experiment was over. The subject species was destroyed. Soon, they would select a new species and begin again. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. He had no idea how wrong he was. 6 months passed. Humanity existed in the shadows. The survivors lived in a hollowed asteroid they called the Tomb. It was cold and dark and crowded. The air smelled like recycled sweat and fear. Food was running low. Medicine was almost gone. Every day more people got sick. Every week more people died. But they did not give up. Admiral Park Ji-soo walked through the narrow tunnels of the tomb and watched her people work. In one chamber, engineers took apart captured Valoran equipment. In another, doctors treated the wounded with whatever supplies they could find. In a third, soldiers trained with weapons they had built from scrap metal. They were broken and desperate and barely surviving. But they were still fighting. "Admiral," someone called. It was Lee Yuna, the lead scientist. She was running toward Jisoo with excitement on her face. "I found something. You need to see this." Jisoo followed her to the research lab. It was a small room filled with Valoran technology, engines, weapons, communication devices, all taken apart and spread across tables. "What did you find?" Jisoo asked. Yuna pointed to a holographic display showing a complex network of lines and nodes. "This is how the Valoran collective works. Every ship, every weapon, every system is connected to a central network. They call it the Nexus. It coordinates everything. That's why they're so efficient. That's why they move like one mind." Jisoo studied the display. "And this helps us how?" "Because it's also their weakness." Yuna touched the display and zoomed in on a central node. "The Nexus controls everything. If we can get inside it and upload a virus, their entire network will collapse. Their ships won't be able to communicate. Their weapons won't coordinate. They'll fall into chaos." For the first time in months, Jisoo felt something like hope. "Can you build this virus?" "I already started. But there's a problem." Yuna's excitement faded. "To upload the virus, we need direct access to the Nexus, and the Nexus is the most heavily defended structure in Valoran space. Even if we had a full fleet, we couldn't get close." Jisoo thought about this. She looked at the network diagram and saw how everything connected, how everything depended on that central point. "Then we need to distract them," she said. "We need to make them look somewhere else while we hit the Nexus." "Distract them how?" "We have 30 ships. They have thousands. We attack their homeworld." Yuna stared at her. "That's suicide." "Yes," Jisoo agreed. "It is." In another part of the tomb, Kim Tae-woo sat alone in a storage room. He had not eaten in 2 days. He had not slept in 3. He just sat there, staring at a photograph of his wife and children. The door opened and Captain Minho entered. He looked at Tae-woo with concern. "You need to eat," Minho said. "I need them back," Tae-woo replied. His voice was empty. "But that's not going to happen, is it?" Minho sat down across from him. "No, it's not." They were silent for a long moment. "I spent my whole life working for peace," Tae-woo said. "I believed the Valorans were good. I defended them when others had doubts. I told people to trust them." He looked at Minho with tears in his eyes. "I helped them kill us." "You didn't know." "I should have known. I should have seen it." He gripped the photograph tighter. "My children trusted me to protect them, and I led them to slaughter." Minho leaned forward. "Listen to me. You can spend the rest of your life hating yourself for what happened, or you can do something about it." He pointed toward the tunnels outside. "There are thousands of people here who need help. Scientists who need support. Soldiers who need information. We have work to do, Tae-woo. Important work. Your family would want you to do it." Tae-woo looked at the photograph one more time. His daughter's smile, his son's eyes, his wife's gentle face. He would never see them again, but maybe he could still do something for them. "What do you need?" he asked. "Admiral Jisoo has a plan, but we need intelligence. We need to know where the Valoran leadership is located. We need inside information." Tae-woo wiped his eyes. "I can get it." "How?" "I let myself get captured. I was their ambassador for years. They'll want to question me. And while they're questioning me, I'll find what we need." Minho shook his head. "That's too dangerous. They'll torture you. They'll kill you." "Probably." Tae-woo put the photograph in his pocket and stood up. "But at least I'll die doing something useful." Far across space, on a Valoran prison ship, Han Sujin was planning her own mission. 6 months of captivity had taught her many things. She learned the guards' routines. She learned the ship's layout, and she learned that the Valorans were overconfident. They thought she was broken. They thought she had given up. They brought her to Commander Thess every few weeks so he could study her reactions and ask questions about human behavior. They never searched her carefully. They never watched her closely, because she was just a test subject. She was not a threat. They were wrong. Sujin had been stealing small components from every room they brought her to. A wire here, a chip there, tiny pieces that nobody noticed. She hid them in her cell and worked on them at night. Now she had a device that could connect to the Valoran network. She waited until the guards changed shifts, then activated the device. The screen glowed softly in the darkness of her cell. She was inside their system. She didn't have much time. She searched quickly for anything useful: ship positions, fleet movements, command structures. She copied everything she could find and stored it in the device's memory. Then she found something else: a communication channel that was barely protected. It was a channel for low-priority messages between Valoran outposts. Nobody monitored it carefully. She sent a message to the tomb. "I'm alive. I have information. Prepare for upload." 3 days later, a response came. "Package incoming. Wait for signal." Sujin smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in 6 months. Back at the tomb, Admiral Jisu called a meeting of her senior officers. They gathered in the command center, a room carved from rock with screens and equipment salvaged from destroyed ships. "Here's the plan," Jisu said. "We're going to split our forces. Captain Minho will lead the assault fleet in a direct attack on the Valoran throne world. This will pull their military away from the Nexus." Minho nodded. He already knew this was a suicide mission. He had volunteered for it anyway. "While the Valorans are focused on Minho, I will lead a strike team to the Nexus. Dr. Yuna will upload the virus. When it activates, their network will collapse." "What about the inside?" one officer asked. "We need someone in their system to help the virus spread." Jisu smiled slightly. "We have someone. Han Sujin is alive and inside a Valoran prison ship. Kim Taewoo is going to get captured and bring her the activation codes." The officers looked at each other. It was a desperate plan. Everything had to work perfectly, or they would all die for nothing. "I know what you're thinking," Jisu said. "It's risky. It's probably going to fail. But we don't have other options. The Valorans are going to find us eventually. When they do, they'll kill everyone here. At least this way we have a chance to hurt them first." She looked at each face around the table. "We have 30 ships. We have 200,000 people. We have whatever weapons we could build in 6 months. It's not enough to win a war, but it might be enough to start one." She straightened her shoulders. "The Valorans think we're beaten. They think we're hiding and waiting to die. Let's show them what humans actually do when they're cornered." Minho stood up. "I'm ready." Yuna nodded. "The virus is ready." Taewoo stepped forward. "I'll leave tomorrow." Jisu looked at them, her officers, her friends, her family. Most of them would not survive the coming battle. She might not survive either. But that didn't matter anymore. What mattered was making sure the Valorans never forgot what they did. "Then it's decided," she said. "We attack in 1 month. Use the time to prepare. Say goodbye to anyone you need to say goodbye to. And remember why we're doing this." She thought of Earth burning. She thought of 9 billion dead. She thought of children screaming and families torn apart and an entire species almost destroyed because some aliens thought they were gods. "We're doing this for everyone we lost," she said quietly. "And we're doing this so the Valorans know that you don't murder humanity and get away with it." The meeting ended. The officers left to prepare. And deep in the cold darkness of the tomb, the survivors of humanity began to ready themselves for war. They were outnumbered. They were outgunned. They were probably going to die, but they were going to make it hurt. 1 year after the genocide, the survivors of humanity called themselves the Doctrine of Ash. They named themselves after what the Velorans made of their homeworld. They wore the name like armor. They carried it like a weapon. Kim Tae-woo stood in the airlock of a small shuttle and prepared to get captured. He wore civilian clothes and carried no weapons. In his pocket was a data chip containing encrypted codes. In his heart was a cold determination that replaced everything else. "Are you sure about this?" Captain Minho asked behind him. "No," Tae-woo admitted, "but I'm going anyway. The Velorans will torture you." "I know. They might kill you before you can reach Sujin." "I know that too." Tae-woo turned to face him. "I spent my life believing in peace. I trusted the Velorans completely. I was wrong, and billions died because of it. This is the only way I can fix that." Minho gripped his shoulder. "You were not wrong to want peace. You were wrong to trust the wrong people. There's a difference." Tae-woo almost smiled. "Maybe, but the result is the same." He stepped into the airlock. "Tell Admiral Jisoo I won't fail. Tell her I'll get the codes to Sujin no matter what it costs." The airlock closed. The shuttle launched, and Kim Tae-woo flew toward the enemy. He found a Veloran patrol ship within hours. He let them detect him. He let them capture him. They took him to a prison station and beat him and asked questions he refused to answer. The beatings got worse. They used machines that made every nerve in his body scream with pain. They kept him awake for days until he couldn't remember his own name. But he didn't break. He had already lost everything that mattered to him. Pain was nothing compared to that. After 2 weeks, they transferred him to a different ship. The guards threw him into a cell and left him on the cold floor. He lay there for a long time, too weak to move. Then he heard a voice. "Tae-woo?" He opened his swollen eyes. Han Soo-jin stood in the cell next to his, looking through a small window in the wall between them. "Soo-jin," he whispered. "You're alive." "Barely. Are you okay?" "No. But I have what you need." He reached into his torn clothes and pulled out the data chip. The guards had searched him, but they hadn't found it. He had hidden it in a place they didn't look. He passed the chip through the window. Soo-jin took it with trembling hands. "The activation codes are on there," Tae-woo said. "When the fleet attacks, you need to upload them to the Veloran network. It will spread the virus that Dr. Yuna created." Soo-jin nodded. "I understand. I've already planted dormant code in their system. When I send the signal, everything will collapse." Tae-woo closed his eyes. His mission was complete. Whatever happened to him now didn't matter. "Tae-woo," Soo-jin said softly. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just make them pay." Back at the tomb, the fleet was ready to launch. 30 ships, all they had left. Some were military vessels that survived the initial attack. Others were civilian ships modified with whatever weapons the engineers could build. None of them were strong enough to fight Veloran warships directly, but they weren't planning to fight directly. Admiral Jisoo stood on the bridge of her flagship and looked at the tactical display. The plan was simple, but dangerous. Minho would take the assault fleet and attack the Veloran throne world. It would look like humanity's final desperate charge. The Velorans would send their main military force to destroy him. While that happened, Jisoo would take a small strike team to the Nexus. They would break through the reduced defenses and upload the virus. If everything worked, the Veloran network would collapse and their entire civilization would fall into chaos. If anything went wrong, everyone would die. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "Captain Minho is requesting a private channel." Jisoo nodded and took the call in her ready room. Minho's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, but calm. "Jisoo," he said, "I want you to know that my crew understands what we're doing. We know we're not coming back. We're okay with that." "Minho, let me finish. We've talked about it. We've made our peace. Every person on my ships has lost someone. Family, friends, children. We have nothing left except this chance to hurt them. His voice grew harder. So don't feel guilty about sending us. This is what we want. This is the only thing that matters anymore. Jisoo felt tears in her eyes, but she held them back. I wish I could come with you. I know. But someone has to finish the mission. Someone has to upload that virus and end this. That's your job. My job is to buy you time. He smiled slightly. Besides, you were always the better strategist. I was just the one who liked to blow things up. Despite everything, Jisoo laughed. It was a short, sad laugh, but it was real. Make them remember us, Minho. I will. His smile faded. For Earth. For everyone we lost. For everyone we lost, she repeated. The channel closed. Jisoo returned to the bridge and gave the order. All ships, launch. The fleet of the Doctrine of Ash left the tomb and headed toward Valoran space. They moved in two groups. Minho's assault fleet toward the throne world, Jisoo's strike team toward the Nexus. In the Valoran Command Center, High Overseer Kale received the report with amusement. They're attacking? He said. With 30 ships? Commander Thess nodded. It appears they've decided to die with honor. A final charge. Quite predictable, really. Send the fleet to destroy them. I want this ended quickly. Yes, Overseer. Thess began issuing orders. Hundreds of Valoran warships moved to intercept the human assault fleet. But Kale continued watching the tactical display. Something bothered him. The human attack seemed too obvious, too simple. He had studied humanity for years. They were predictable in many ways, but they were also stubborn and clever when cornered. Wait, he said suddenly. Where is their other group going? Thess checked the display. A smaller force is heading toward the Nexus. Kyle's black eyes widened. They're not attacking us. They're attacking our network. It's a distraction. Overseer, they can't possibly damage the Nexus. Our defenses... Send ships to intercept that strike team now! Thess rushed to obey, but it was already too late. Most of the Valoran fleet was committed to stopping Minho. Only a small force remained to defend the Nexus. On her bridge, Admiral Jisoo smiled grimly when she saw the enemy ships repositioning. The plan was working. Minho's sacrifice was buying them time. All ships. Maximum speed, she ordered. We need to reach the Nexus before their reinforcements arrive. The strike team pushed forward, 10 ships racing toward the heart of the Valoran collective. Behind them, the assault fleet reached the throne world. Minho looked at the massive planet below, the center of Valoran civilization, covered with cities and monuments celebrating their superiority. All ships, he said over the fleet channel. You know what to do. Target everything. Make them hurt. And when your ship is finished, ram the biggest thing you can find. His weapons officer looked at him. Captain, they're launching fighters. Thousands of them. Minho watched the swarm of enemy ships rising to meet them. His fleet was outnumbered 50-1. They would be destroyed in minutes. Good, he said. That means they're not chasing Admiral Jisoo. The Battle of the Valoran throne world began. Human ships charged into the enemy fleet and fired everything they had. They died quickly, but they died fighting. They took Valoran ships with them. They crashed into stations and destroyed weapons platforms. One by one, Minho watched his ships explode. The Sejong, the Gwangeto, the Dokdo. Ships named for Korean heroes. Now heroes themselves. Finally, only the Retribution remained. The ship was burning. The engines were failing. Half the crew was dead. Captain, his first officer said, we're detecting High Overseer Kale's command ship. It's in orbit above the capital. Minho looked at the massive vessel on his screen. The center of Valoran leadership. The ship that ordered the genocide. Set a collision course, he ordered. The Retribution, broken and burning, turned toward Kale's command ship. It accelerated with everything it had left. Minho opened a channel to Admiral Jisoo. His final message was simple. For Earth, for everyone we lost, make them remember us. He closed the channel and watched the enemy ship grow larger on his screen. He thought of his grandmother in Busan. He thought of the friends he'd lost. He thought of the billions who died screaming. Then he closed his eyes and waited for the end. The Retribution crashed into Kale's command ship at full speed. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the sky above the Valoran throne world. On her bridge, Admiral Jisoo saw the explosion on her display. She felt the loss like a physical wound. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. Minho, she said softly, we'll finish this. I promise. She turned to her officers. The Nexus was ahead. The final battle was about to begin. All ships, she ordered. Attack. The Nexus hung in space like a metal moon. It was the heart of the Valoran Collective, a massive station that connected every ship, every weapon, every system in their civilization. Control the Nexus, and you controlled everything. Destroy the Nexus, and everything fell apart. Admiral Park Jisoo's strike team raced toward it with 10 ships. Behind them, Valoran reinforcements were coming fast. They had maybe 20 minutes before they were overwhelmed. Defensive platforms ahead, her tactical officer reported. Automated weapons, hundreds of them. Punch through, Jisoo ordered. We only need to get one ship close enough to upload the virus. The strike team hit the defense grid at full speed. Platforms opened fire. Ships exploded. The Incheon was destroyed in the first volley. The Gyeongju followed seconds later. 8 ships left, then 7, then 5. Jisoo's flagship shook as a plasma beam hit the hull. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the bridge. Shields failing, her engineer shouted. Keep going. Jisoo gripped her command chair and watched 2 more ships die in front of her. Keep going. They broke through the defense grid with 3 ships remaining. The Nexus was right in front of them, a massive sphere of metal and lights. The upload point was on the surface, a data port that would give them direct access to the network. Dr. Yuna, Jisoo said over the comm, are you ready? Lee Yuna was on the second ship, the Suwon. Her voice was calm despite the chaos around her. The virus is ready. I just need to get to that port. We'll cover you. Get inside and upload. The 3 ships approached the Nexus. More defensive platforms opened fire. The third ship, the Daegu, took a direct hit and broke apart. 2 ships left. Jisoo made a decision. Yuna, I'm going to ram the defense batteries. When they focus on me, you get to the port. Admiral, do it. That's an order. Jisoo turned her ship toward the heaviest concentration of enemy fire. The weapons locked onto her immediately. She felt impacts shake the hull. She saw warning lights turn red across her console, but the enemy was focused on her now. The Suwon had a clear path. Go, Yuna, now! The Suwon accelerated toward the Nexus. Yuna's pilot found the data port and docked. The airlock opened and Yuna ran inside with the virus ready on her datapad. The interior of the Nexus was a maze of corridors and machines. Valoran guards rushed to stop her. She shot 2 with a pistol she had taken from a dead soldier. A third one grabbed her arm and she stabbed him with a knife. She was a scientist, not a fighter. But she had spent the last year learning how to kill because she had no other choice. She reached the central core, a room filled with glowing screens and pulsing lights. This was the brain of the Valoran Collective. This was where everything connected. She found a terminal and inserted her datapad. The virus began uploading. Come on, she whispered. Come on, come on. The upload bar moved slowly. 10%, 20%, 30%. Guards burst into the room. Yuna shot one and missed the other. He tackled her to the ground and raised his weapon. A shot rang out. The guard fell dead. Yuna looked up and saw Kim Tae-woo standing in the doorway. He was covered in blood and barely standing, but he was alive. He had escaped the prison ship during the chaos and followed the battle to the Nexus. Finish it, he said weakly. Yuna scrambled back to the terminal. The upload was at 60%, 70, 80. More guards came. Taewoo fought them at the door, using his body to block their entry. He took a shot to the shoulder, then one to the leg. He fell against the wall but kept firing. 90%. "Yuna," Taewoo gasped. "Tell Jisoo. Tell her we did it." 95%. A guard shot Taewoo in the chest. He collapsed. 100%. Yuna activated the virus. Across Valoran space, everything stopped. On the prison ship, Han Soo-jin activated her planted code. She sent the signal that made the virus spread instantly through every system, every ship, every weapon in the collective. Screens went dark, engines failed, communications died. Ships that were perfectly coordinated moments ago suddenly couldn't talk to each other. The Valoran collective, built on technology and perfect control, fell into chaos. At the throne world, the Valoran fleet that had destroyed Minho's assault force suddenly went blind. Ships collided with each other, weapons fired at random, officers screamed orders that nobody could hear. On what remained of Kale's command ship, the section that survived the Retribution's impact, the High Overseer watched his empire collapse. Screens showed static, communications were dead, his officers ran around in panic. "What's happening?" he demanded. "What did they do?" Nobody could answer him. Nobody knew. At the Nexus, Admiral Jisoo's ship was dying. Fire burned through every deck. The hull was breached in a dozen places. Most of her crew was dead, but she saw the results on her screen before the system failed. The Valoran network was down. The virus had worked. She thought about Minho crashing into Kyle's ship. She thought about Taewoo getting captured to deliver the codes. She thought about Yuna running through enemy fire to upload the virus. She thought about Soo-jin, trapped in a prison ship for a year, waiting for the moment to strike. She thought about 200,000 survivors who gave everything for this chance. "We did it," she whispered. Then she lost consciousness. She woke up in a medical bay. The lights were dim and the air smelled like antiseptic. Her body hurt everywhere. A young officer stood beside her bed. He smiled when he saw her eyes open. "Admiral, you're alive." "The virus," she said. "Did it work?" It worked. The Valoran collective is in civil war. Their network collapsed and now they're fighting each other. Different factions trying to take control. They're too busy killing each other to hunt us. Jisoo closed her eyes and felt tears run down her face. Not tears of joy. Tears of exhaustion and grief and relief all mixed together. "How many did we lose?" The officer's smile faded. "Almost everyone. Captain Minho's entire fleet. Most of the strike team. Dr. Yuna and Ambassador Taewoo died at the Nexus." Jisoo nodded slowly. She had expected this. She had known from the beginning that most of them would die. But knowing didn't make it hurt less. "What about Soo-jin?" "She escaped the prison ship during the chaos. She's on her way here now." Small mercies, Jisoo thought. At least someone survived. 3 years later, humanity returned to Earth. The planet was scarred and poisoned. Cities were ruins. Forests were ash. Oceans were toxic. But it was home, and humans began rebuilding anyway. Park Jisoo, now president of the United Earth Confederacy, stood in the ashes of Seoul and watched construction crews work. New buildings rose from the rubble. New gardens grew in the poisoned soil. Children played in streets that had been graveyards. Han Soo-jin stood beside her. She was the head of intelligence now, responsible for watching the fractured remains of the Valoran collective. "They're coming," Soo-jin said. "A Valoran delegation. They want to discuss peace terms." Jisoo had expected this. The collective was broken. The factions had fought each other for 3 years, and now they were exhausted. They wanted the war to end. "Let them come," she said. The delegation arrived a week later, 3 Valorans in formal robes, representing the largest remaining faction. They looked nervous. They had never negotiated from weakness before. Jisoo met them in a rebuilt conference room. She wore a simple black uniform, no medals, no decorations, just the symbol of the doctrine of Ash on her shoulder. "President Park," the lead envoy said, "we come to discuss peace between our peoples. We hope to end the hostilities and begin a new relationship based on mutual respect." Jisoo looked at them for a long moment. She thought about everything that had happened, the lies, the genocide, the billions dead, the friends she lost. "You studied us for 150 years, she said calmly. "You gave us technology and watched what we would do with it. Then you decided we weren't good enough, so you tried to kill us all." The envoy shifted uncomfortably. "That was a mistake. We understand that now." "A mistake." Jisoo's voice was flat. "You killed 9 billion people. You burned our homeworld. You hunted us like animals, and you call it a mistake. We are prepared to offer reparations, resources, technology, whatever you need to rebuild. We want to move forward." Jisoo reached into her jacket and pulled out a document. She slid it across the table. "These are our terms." The envoy read the document. His face went pale. "Complete disarmament," he said. "You want us to destroy all our weapons, all our warships?" "Yes." "And reparations equal to?" "This is everything we have. Our entire economy for the next 100 years." "Yes." "And this last clause," he looked up at her with shock. "You want us to remember. Every year. Forever. A day of mourning for what we did to humanity." Jisoo leaned forward. Her eyes were hard as stone. "You gave us 150 years of peace because you thought we were harmless. You killed 9 billion of us because you thought we were weak. You studied us and experimented on us and then tried to throw us away like garbage." She stood up and looked down at the envoys. "We are not harmless. We are not weak. We are not garbage. We are humanity, and you will never forget what you did to us. You will remember it every single year until your species no longer exists. That is the price for what you took from us." The envoy swallowed hard. "And if we refuse these terms?" Jisoo smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Then we continue the war. We are very good at war now. You taught us that." The envoys looked at each other. They had no choice, and they knew it. Their civilization was broken. Their military was destroyed. They had come to negotiate from a position of weakness, and they had to accept whatever terms humanity demanded. We accept," the lead envoy said quietly. "Good." Jisoo sat back down. "Then we have peace." After the delegation left, Sujin approached her. "Do you think they'll keep their word?" she asked. Jisoo watched the Valoran ship lift off and disappear into the sky. "It doesn't matter. We'll be watching them. Forever." She turned to look at the city being rebuilt around them. "They thought they knew us. They thought we were predictable and weak. But they only saw us when we were comfortable. They never saw what we become when everything is taken from us." She thought of Minho flying his ship into Kyle's command vessel. She thought of Tae-woo dying so Yuna could upload the virus. She thought of everyone who fought and died and sacrificed everything so humanity could survive. "They gave us 150 years of peace," she said softly, "and we repaid them with exactly what they deserved." She walked toward the construction site where workers were building a monument. It was a simple stone pillar that would stand in the center of the new Seoul. On it would be carved the names of everyone who died, in the genocide and in the war that followed. At the base of the monument, an inscription. "You studied us for 150 years and never understood us. We don't surrender, we don't forget, and we never forgive." The monument would stand for 1,000 years, and every year, on the anniversary of the genocide, humans would gather here to remember. They would remember what was taken from them, They would remember what they became to survive, and they would remember what humanity does to those who try to destroy them. The Valorans thought they were conducting an experiment. They were right. They just didn't understand the results.